can you just square the circle of the dynamics for me of what is universally happening that's causing this to occur? Because presumably the intersexual dynamics and the sex ratios in different countries are all at different levels, and yet we seem to have this sort of universal degradation of birth rate.
Yeah. So let's line this up along these bottlenecks that I talked about. So I like to view this as something that happens in 3 steps. First, you have to be able to find a partner. You have to date. You have to find someone. You have to agree that you're a couple. And that has become increasingly challenging. The next step is that you have to decide to have a children. And there are different hindrances. And then you have to be able to make one. Now, the latter one, it seems not to be that big of a deal. As you're aware, sperm quality has decreased 40% among men. But according to the experts, it's still more than good enough for making children. So it's not that we're not able to. Now, then there are some problems for women because they postpone having children, but women their fecundity has not decreased in all likelihood at the earlier ages. So the latter bottleneck seems not to be a real issue.
And then we have just to step in there. You mentioned at the early ages, but obviously, if the first and the second one, finding a partner, getting a partner, then push you into the third one can then become right. I've jumped ahead.
Absolutely.
Of the ending, but yeah.
No, absolutely. So but the issue that there hasn't been changes in fecundity. Fecundity seems to be the same or better than before. So it's not that we're not able to have children, but when women start very late, then it becomes more problematic. But that is not more problematic than it used to be. It's just that women are starting later. So then we have to look at the world. So where in the world where birth rates, where people are still reproducing and growing, are in countries where female equality is not a very high value. And this is an important factor. This is a result of the empowerment and liberation and equality afforded to women in the process that has been ongoing in the West for like 800 years. And here it's very important for me to state that I am an enormous supporter of equality for women. I am such a big supporter of that I would like also women in the future to have the same rights and opportunities that women have today. If we continue down the path we are now and just self-eradicate, those populations that are left are not champions of women's freedoms. So when we go into this and we talk about what has happened with women over the past, say, particularly 150 years, that explains much of the first bottleneck. But describing these mechanisms and this process is not doesn't mean that I'm against it. I'm just describing these are the mechanisms that are at play. This is how human nature plays out in certain environments. And I wish it wasn't that way, but it really seems to be that way. So this is what I will be describing. So what we talked about last year is that our lineage it's interesting to look at the last 6 million years. We became a pair bonding species around 4 million years ago. And women only evolved an attraction to men that motivated sufficient pair bonding and reproduction in really impoverished environments. So men, as we talked about, because their promiscuous attraction system is so generous, they're a lot more willing to have sex with women and engage with women than many different kinds of women than what women are. So if a man activates her pair bonding attraction system, that can be a man with similar mate value as she has. They fall in love, they have sex, they have a child. But if you have an environment like you have now that appeals predominantly to, or to a great extent, to the promiscuous attraction system, which is what Tinder does, etc., then women will be a lot more selective. So we have a few things that have happened here. Women have been empowered to have their own jobs, make their own money, be free, and importantly, to choose their own partners for the first time in human history. The result of that has been that the better women are doing, the more they exclude the lowest value men from their potential pool of partners. And with prosperity and with a promiscuous mating regime like we have now, or that is a lot more promiscuous than before, female mating psychology seems to channel the attention to higher value men to avoid the deception of similar value men. That's something that happens when there's high promiscuity. While lower value men in a environment like we have today, even though they are receiving less mating attraction and having less opportunities, and we see their number of sex partners going down, they will have increased expectations of promiscuity. So you get more and more dysfunction the further away from this third sexual revolution of the 1960s we get. This is only getting worse. So the problem with creating relationships now, and this has been something that's been in the debate in Norway to an enormous extent, what very many women have said in this debate, I don't know how representative it is, but their main talking point is that men aren't good enough. And if men do not become better, women simply don't want to partner with them and certainly not have children.
What do you think they mean when they say better?
It's quite predictable. Women, of course, because of our evolutionary past, they have a lower desire for partner variety. While men, because by having promiscuous sex, they would leave a larger genetic legacy, they have a higher desire for partner variety. So one study showed that Norwegian women want 5 lifetime sex partners, and Norwegian men want 25. So this is a question of how markets work. When you have a high demand of female sexuality and a low supply, women will have the power on the short-term mating market. So as we know, if you as a woman go on Tinder now, you will get access to thousands and tens of thousands of men, and you will have men that have much higher mate value, give you a lot of attention and try really hard to get a date with you and then get you to bed. So when you have that kind of enormous choice, that kind of power, it's very natural that you increase your standards. Now, if women understood better, and they do understand it, many understand it very well, and some understand it to some extent, but this isn't a cultural script that we're raised with. We're not offered this information when we grow up. It's just not a part of our culture because this mating regime is so new. But it's a big difference between a short and a long-term mating market. So if many women confuse the power they have on the short-term mating market with the long-term mating market, where men and women are more equal. So their experiences on the short-term mating market motivates women to increase their partner demands, which then which they can do on the short-term mating market. There's no limits to how many attractive men they can have there. But if they want a boyfriend, then they have to go on dates with men that have similar mating value with them, because in a monogamous regime, our species mates sortatively. People with similar value find each other. And this makes it harder and harder for women to find partners. And the funny thing in the debate that's been in Norway is that so many said that, oh my God, those men need to stop telling women to lower their standards. The problem isn't that we have high demands and then they go and list 10 things that men have to do to get better. So this environment that we live in now, it just motivates women to, number one, they don't need men anymore. They used to need men. And those emotion, that attraction women have for men, evolved in a much more impoverished environment where having a man could be of existential importance. And now they don't need him. Women can have wonderful lives without men. For many women, the type of men that they would have access to simply isn't good enough to justify not longer being single. And on an individual level, that is perfectly fine, and I support it 100%. So what women are doing on the short and long-term mating market, I have no issue on that. As individuals, I lay no blame. But our society will disappear if we don't do anything about this. And the thing is, this is a brand new system that no human community has succeeded with. And we've been doing this for 50 years. And these processes, these changing between different mating regimes, typically can take centuries. Some of them, the older ones, took much longer even. So that we, after 50 years, haven't found a way to reconcile individual and social needs, it's no wonder. But now that we see the effect that our inability to find partners leads to self-eradication, we need to talk about it. We need to agree that this is a problem and that it's an existential problem, and we have to start experimenting. Not by forcing women to marry incels, but to try to find if we can create new dating arenas, if we can increase the knowledge around this, if we can change people's approach to dating and mating, then I am naively positive. I mean, I've studied human or hominin mating over 6 million years. We face tremendous challenges. And our ancestors solved every single one of them. And the 21st century's reproductive crisis, it's not the biggest one. I think we can make changes. And these fertility researchers that I've talked with, they don't have much of an historical perspective. They look at today and they see this is a problem. They don't understand why it's happening. And then they give up. And a lot of them say, we just need to embrace low fertility. We've solved problems like this so many times.
In other news, this episode is brought to you by Function. You probably want to know what's happening inside of your body, but getting your blood work comprehensively analyzed can cost thousands, which is why I partnered with Function. For just $500, you receive extensive lab work on over 100 carefully selected biomarkers, giving you insights into your hormone profile, cardiovascular health, organ function, and much more. Their team of expert physicians will then analyze the data and give you actionable advice to improve your health and lifespan. Monitoring things like your testosterone can make a massive difference to your energy, performance, and happiness, and being able to see that data charted out over the course of a year with actionable insights to actually improve them is exactly what you get with Function. Dr. Andrew Huberman is their scientific advisor and Dr. Mark Hyman is their chief medical officer, so you can trust that the data and insights you receive are scientifically sound and reliable. Right now, you can discover where your health stands and take action with Function's expert health assessments by going to the link in the description below or heading to functionhealth.com/modernwisdom. That's functionhealth.com/modernwisdom. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, you will love the full-length podcast in all its glory, which is available right here. Go on, press it.